Hey, what's going on, everybody? In this video, we are looking at the MLB picks for tonight. We have a big 15 game slate today, so let's get started with the video. A lot to touch on. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. For it being such a big slate, there's not a ton of great pitching options, which is surprising. We only have a couple of guys above 10,000. No real true aces besides like McCullers. Robbie Ray's pitched well this year, but that game looks like it could get canceled with some of the rain concerns in Boston tonight. But just looking at the pitching option, I think McCullers is your best option, especially if that Boston game gets some rain. And even if that game plays, I don't really want to play Robbie Ray at 10-1 against this very powerful and righty heavy Boston team. So for pitching wise, I'm kind of looking at Lance McCullers. For my SP2, I like to go with go cheap with like Dane Dunning, who's only $6,400. If I'm going cheap with my SP2, I'd much rather go with a guy that has a lot of strikeout upside, like Dunning does on the season, averaging a little bit over a strikeout per inning. He's pitched very well at home, which is a great sign. So he's in Texas here. 2.54 ERA at home compared to 6.45 on the road. Strikeouts a little bit higher at home as well, and he's a pitcher that sometimes they limit to like 70, high 60s in pitches, but his price tag is kind of reflectant on that, just being super affordable on a big slate. I think makes some sense. You could look to like Montgomery if you wanted to instead, or look to possibly like Logan Webb as a tournament play against this very banged up Dodgers team. They are without Mookie Betts, who's on the IL now, but I feel pretty safe and confident with Dunning as my SP2. I really don't want to play Matt Moore or Quantrill or any of those guys. If you wanted to go in the mid range, you have like Kenta Maeda against this Tigers team, who also strikes out a bunch. He's already played them 3 times this year. He's pitched well against them, averaging about 15 and a half. He's been very solid at home, so he makes sense. If you wanted to pay a little bit more, you can go with Alcantara. Even though the Orioles have a pretty decent total, Alcantara's been pretty solid pitcher. He struggled a little bit recently, but he was an all-star last year. Still has a lot of talent on the season. His strikeouts are down this year a little bit, but he still is able to go pretty deep into games. 85 against a pretty poor offense, even though they do have somewhat of a high total today. I don't mind going Alcantara and then Paddock. Just I don't really agree with the total for the A's. They have a sub 4 run total in San Diego today, 3.9. Paddock hasn't not been very consistent, so I think you can easily go with some of these Oakland's bats against Paddock. He's not a pitcher that I like, especially if people go to him just because they see that Oakland has a 3.9 total. Might get some good leverage off of that, but he's not a pitcher that I'm considering. So for me, I'm going with Lance McCullers at 10-4 against the Mariners. What a comeback by Seattle last night. That grand slam by Dylan Moore in the bottom of the 8th capped that comeback for them. They were down 7-0 or 6-0 after the first, 7-0 after the first few innings, and they had a big comeback late in that game. But McCullers here, I'm expecting him to continue to do what he's been doing all season, which has been super consistent. Good strikeout pitcher, 107 Ks in 91 innings. Doesn't give up a ton of walks, or gives up a good amount of walks, but he doesn't give up a ton of home runs. So I have pretty good upside in, or pretty good confidence that McCullers will be able to. So think that McCullers will be able to lead the Astros to hopefully bounce back here after they blew a big lead last night. So give me McCullers, and then I'm gonna be going with Dane Dunning as my SP2 at $6,400. For the bats today, we still have some cheap hitters to target. They didn't move Eloy Jimenez's price tag. I know he didn't do anything yesterday, but I still like to go to him. You have Ortega possibly batting leadoff for the Cubs today at $2,400 against Gutierrez. If you wanted to stack the Twins again, you have Kepler, lefty, but he's only $3,400. I like Donaldson, hit a bomb last night. His price tag is nice at $4,200. You can go with some of these cheap guys in the bottom of the order if you need to. Probably my favorite stack is I like the Nats a little bit today. Some of the Phillies bats. I don't really want to look too heavily on the Miami side, but I wouldn't mind going like Duvall, who gives you a lot of upside. Go with a couple of those. I don't really want to stack Miami today, but I like the Nats against Matt Moore. He gives up a ton of home runs and a ton of damage to righties. So looking at Escobar, Trey Turner, Zimmerman, even the bottom of the order with Robles at min price, Josh Harrison. They make some sense if just as some righty bats that give you some upside. And then I like the Angels a little bit against a lefty and Gomber, especially Justin Upton is only $3,300. So we'll start off at the first base options here. I like Abreu at $4,800, Rhys Hoskins $4,700. If you wanted to go all the way down, you have Ryan Zimmerman, who is only $3,100 against Matt Moore. He makes some sense. Over at second base, I've been playing Segura a bunch recently. He continues to hit the ball very well for the Phillies, batting leadoff. Since he's been bumped into the starting lineup, he continues to hit. He is riding a 8-game hitting streak. Another solid game for him last night after that home run a couple days ago. Just does a lot of good things for the Phillies. Had a stolen base as well last night. So, starting his 7 stolen bases on the season. Still, if he's given opportunities, will take off. The Nats have a very young catcher behind the plate who the Phillies don't mind running against him if they start Barria again today. But overall, Segura, just for how well he's been hitting, I don't mind getting to him at $4,300. Other guys at the position are Jose Altuve, who is $4,500 against Chris Flexen. You can go down to Polanco against a lefty in Alexander. Those are the couple of other guys that I'm kind of looking at. Maybe if you wanted to look to some of these Braves guys, you have Albies against a lefty at $4K. Don't mind that. At third base, lots of good options here. It's probably going to start in the somewhat of the mid-range for me with Yoan Moncada at $4,400. You can continue to go with like Chris Bryant, who is on the trade block. Wouldn't be shocked if he gets moved in the next couple days. And then you have Josh Donaldson, who had a good game last night with that home run. Another hit for him. 23 DraftKings points, so his price tag went down $500. He's facing off against a lefty, which he has done a lot better against in his career. So you can look to Josh Donaldson, another guy that looks appealing. And then if you wanted to stack the Phillies Nats game, you have Harrison, Alec Boehm as guys to target in that game at third base. Over at shortstop, the thumbnail of the video, Trey Turner. Like to get to him here. I want to pay up at shortstop. Shortstop's always a good spot to pay up. Don't mind getting to Trey Turner, who has been red hot this entire season. Super consistent. 341 average in his last 10. Gives you a ton of stolen base upside, up to 21 steals on the season. And he absolutely mashes lefties. If you look at his stats here so far this year, he's batting .400 against lefties in 100 at-bats. He also isn't afraid to steal bases against lefties. 4 stolen bases have come. Usually people steal against righties just because a little bit of better opportunity this takes to steal with them not looking right at you. But Turner will steal against anybody if he's given the opportunity. But against lefties, he's just such a good hitter. 13.8% K rate, 260 ISO. If we look at his numbers last year against lefties, looking at 375, 4 bombs, and only 56 at-bats. So that was good for a 357 ISO, only 12.5% K rate. Love Trey Turner today. At $6,000, he's expensive, but I expect him to be able to pay off the salary. Other pivots here are like Tim Anderson at 54. You can go down, especially if that Boston game gets canceled. That takes out 2 solid options with Bogarts and Bichette. So I think it makes me feel a little bit better about paying all the way up for Turner. And I don't really see myself going too cheap here. Maybe you can look to like Didi if you wanted to from the Phillies side. Over in the outfield, I love Justin Upton today. He's another guy that I want to target against lefties, especially at this price tag at only $3,300 against Gomber. Upton mashes lefties over the past few years, even over his career. He's always been very good against lefties. This year, his ISO is well over 300 against lefties. He's missed a bunch of time with injuries, but overall, he's batting 259 or 227 against lefties, but 6 bombs and just 66 at bats. So really looking for a home run out of him here. 303 ISO for him this year against lefties. Look back at 2020. It's short season, but he had 6 bombs and 64 at-bats, so that was another season where he hit over 300 ISO, 313. Career numbers, 259 average. The ISO is 34 points higher, so I feel good about targeting Justin Upton at this very affordable price tag. If you wanted to pay up, I would look to like Harper, Soto. They look fine. Soto, even though it's lefty-lefty, I don't mind it because I think the Nats will be able to get Matt Moore out of the game pretty quickly. If you wanted to go affordable, you have like Yelich, also lefty-lefty, but he's at a pretty good price tag at only $4,300. But we have a bunch of value plays again, and it's going to go with Eloy Jimenez. I know he didn't do anything last night, but I still will continue to play him at $2,500 just because I know he is not this sort of salary. He's not this cheap of a hitter. He's just too cheap at $2,500 for what we know how good of a hitter Eloy Jimenez is. Matter of time before his price tag quickly jumps. So I'm going to continue to take that savings on Eloy Jimenez and hope that he has a very good game tonight. So that's it for the DraftKings picks. Let's jump over to FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel here, it's McCullers is still the pitcher I like. FanDuel is pretty easy to pay up a pitcher just because there's so many good cheap hitters, usually every day. If you wanted to go affordable, you can look to like Morton, or you can look to Cease, Kenta Maeda, even Dunning. But it's pretty easy to get to McCullers and still pay up for some big bats. So give me McCullers. I love Moncada's price tag. He's very good against righties. He's better against righties than he is against lefties, even though he's a switch hitter. Trey Turner, like to get to him on both sides. Expect him to have a huge game today. Eloy Jimenez, still $3,000 is somewhat expensive, but I like the White Sox stack today. I want to get a couple of them. And then Justin Upton is also very affordable on FanDuel at only $2,500. Would not be shocked if we get home runs out of all three of these, or all four of these guys, or at least a couple of them, just like we did last night. So that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Best of luck today, and I'll see you all next time.